you can understand why Pep Guardiola is absolutely delighted to secure such an exciting talent.
Yes.
But do you understand why, from outside of the club, from outside of the boys' group, there were questions as to whether or not it would be a good thing for him?
No, of course, because he is definitely, at younger age groups, one of England's best players coming through. And you want to see him get game time. You don't want to see his development get stalled. But I actually believe he's at the right club. He's definitely with the right manager. He is getting game time. He isn't involved in the squad. He isn't maybe getting enough game, but he's 18. How many 18-year-olds at the level of the club like Manchester City at this present moment are really getting regular game time, breaking into their teams? You always get the odd one, the odd two exceptions. You know, like Messi can go in and hold down his position. These are once-in-a-lifetime type of players. I do believe he has a future at Manchester City. I do believe with the players he's training with, like I said, the manager again, he's going to learn so much. And actually, I do believe he's going to come through Manchester City ranks. He's going to get more game time as the season goes on. And I wouldn't say next year, I'd say the year after that, he'd be looking to hopefully, look to establish himself in the first team.
Stuart, the obvious comparison is Jadon Sancho, who this season has basically played 3 times as much football.
Yeah.
And that is potentially another route that players can take. So does that make it any different, or do you think that possibly he weighed that up before deciding to commit his future?
Well, I think youngsters want to play, and the best way to experience the game is to play matches. There's no doubt about that in your first team, and rack up the minutes, rack up the games. But when I look at Foden, and I don't think you can take one youngster and say, well, Sancho's taken that route, all of them should go to Germany or Spain, wherever it may be. It was right for Sancho to do that, and I think it's worked well for him. Foden is certainly loved by his manager. You can tell the affection in the statement we've just seen there from Pep, and I can see him, taking over from Silva or whoever he takes over in probably the time scale. We're talking about just then, a year or whatever. And he's going to be a world star, there's no doubt. He's unfazed now by going on. He started the Community Shield and never looked out of place once. When he's worn a City shirt, City will pay him top money. He'll get as much money, if not more, staying at Manchester City. Is his hometown club? Is he a Manchester boy?
Yeah,
lots can be said of that. And it's the interaction between him and the manager as well. I'm sure the manager sells the club to him every day.
And I look at his frame as well. You have to be careful of this. I don't think it'd be great for him to play week in, week out at this present moment. His body's developing. You can see of his build. He's a talented footballer and he can get away with it. Now, imagine how good he could become. So at times, you've got to let his body develop as well. If he plays too much now, like we've seen with so many young players who are still growing, then injuries can occur. Then a few years later, we've seen that be the case on a lot of young players. So gradually bringing him in, gradually learning off some of the best players in the world will improve his development, but he will get game time. He's always involved in the squads, and I know you go back to the Sancho situation, but Sancho felt he wasn't involved in the squad. When they all went to America on pre-season, he wasn't asked to go, and that's when Sancho didn't see a future there. And don't forget, he's already gone from Watford to Manchester City, so he's already moved clubs at a young age. So he wasn't keen on that, and I believe there was a club in England he felt he wanted to go to. Manchester City wasn't willing to allow that. He took a massive step. I say a great club like Borussia Dortmund, don't get me wrong, it's not the worst club in the world to go to, but a brave step to go to a different culture, learn a different language, and the way he plays as well, attacking players. A midfield role is a little bit, you have to have that responsibility, you have to have that discipline, where attacking players, you can sort of just let them on you go. And it's a different type of position.
I'm really interested to go back to something you said there, Craig, was, as we said, from the outside, because it talked about publicly for quite some time whether or not Phil Foden will indeed sign a new contract. Lots of comment, he won't play, he'll sit on the bench. Yeah, there was very little comment about his physicality. As you say, it could actually be the worst thing for him to be playing week in, week out and not be given the time to develop, not be in a squad where they can cover for somebody, not just of his prestigious talents, but when they're not desperate to throw him in as well.
Yeah, and I look at, you've always got to be careful with, you know, you want young players to get game time, of course you do, but you have to manage their development as well. Like I look at my body frame. I was 17 when I made my debut, and I was playing game after game at 18. But then a year after, I'd done my cruciate, so which was a good thing for me as well, because it allowed me to improve certain parts of my body that needed improving, which I didn't, because when you're playing game, especially in a championship, it was game, 2-day rest, then another game. The volume of games were very high. A lot of my body and working on certain attributes of my game, say for instance certain things I needed to work on the gym just to improve my body weight as well, because I think I started at 64 and I ended up playing at around about 72, so I was too light when I was first started playing, but I didn't have that period because I was just thrown straight in. I had some good games, a lot of bad games, so it was great. I learned, but injuries then become a huge part of my career, and I've always looked back, maybe I was playing too young without my body fully developing, and even speaking to Kieran Dyer as well, he was exactly the same position as me. You watch his body frame, he was exposed to first team football very early, played a lot, and then his body didn't quite, and that's a lot. He looks back in the same as me, maybe injuries. We always look back at Michael Owen, exposed to first team football straight away.
Jack Wilshere, another one.
Yeah, and look, and I'm not saying it is the case for everyone, because there's been loads of successful cases off the back of it, but I do believe players, as much as we want to play them and give them that experience, they need time as well. It'd be great to play them a couple of games then out. Yeah, and that's the perfect case. Their body needs time to develop.
And if Phil Foden, he hears after the game tonight, Pep Guardiola says in Foden, England have an absolute diamond. Surely he's going to so trust his future to that coach. As Craig says, he's done great last couple of weeks. Looking at, he only sit out for a couple of weeks, and he's going to trust him, isn't he?
I would think so. You also, as well, just leading on from what Craig said, the physical burnout scenario. You've also got the psychological burnout scenario. A lot of these wonder kids that come onto the scene very early don't play until they're sort of mid to late 30s, do they? Because of a lot of psychological. Every time you take the field for Manchester City, psychologically, it's a big game in your head for a young player like Foden as well. As well as the physical side of it, the mental side of it, there's big strain there as well on young players.
And again, if he's at a club where he feels he's getting the best and he doesn't have to prove himself as such, that can only aid that development, can't it?
Listen, there's only a handful of clubs that can match the resources of Manchester City in world football. You know, why wouldn't you want to be at Manchester City at this moment in time?
I agree. And the luxury he will have at a club like Manchester City, as long as he keeps working hard, there'll be a lot of times when he does get minutes, they do bring him off the bench. It'd be a nice position to come on off the bench off. Your team's going to be winning, they're going to be in a comfortable position where you can go and express yourself. But like I said, I also, as long as he's involved in the environment, I'm quite comfortable, because I'm incomfortable in his development where, you know, you've got players like David Silva, you can watch them train, you can watch how they prepare themselves for the game, watch how they react in the game and what they do to take up positions. Then you get the opportunity to train with them day in, day out. What an experience it is for a young footballer, you know, to have your role models. These players who they must be his role models because of the age he is, that you're actually learning from on a day-to-day basis. That I believe will give him a great chance.
Also, what would it do to a young player like that going into a team or a squad that is absolutely bursting at the seams with medals? They've been there and won the lot, and they're incredible players. I don't know Phil Foden. I personally haven't spoken to him. I'm sure he's not the sort of, from what we consider, he's never going to get carried away with himself. He's a very humble young man. Yeah. But the very fact he's going into that environment, when they've won the lot, you know, that's going to help as well, isn't it?
It does, but there's a reason why a lot of those players are there. There's a reason why the manager's there. And he'll learn that quickly as well. And he'll get that installed. So if you've got really good professionals, like I always say to the younger players, like the best players I ever played with were the best professionals. There was no coincidence why they were where they were, because they worked the hardest. From being in first thing in the morning, making sure they preparing themselves for the session. This was a game they took serious, and I looked at that, and I had good habits as a young kid from learning from these type of people, that actually seen it, is sensed it, that I want to be as good as that. So what's he do differently? What's he do? And these players who are winning the trophies now, Pep Guardiola strikes me as that type of manager. If you're not fully committed to being the professional that he wants you to be, you're not going to be at that football club. So he's going to be learning off some of the top professionals, and there's a reason why they are at that football club, but also a reason why they're winning trophies, because their professionalism, the way they take their profession is to the extreme, and that gives you a chance, and it gives then young players a chance coming through as well, who get to learn off the best.
Is there part of both of you that, as pros yourself, don't want to heap too much praise on Phil Foden because you don't want to add pressure to his shoulders? Or is that part and parcel of being an exceptional talent?
Listen, I've worked with the best talent in England for 6 years, you know, at that under-21 level. And for every Phil Foden you're going to throw at me, I can throw 8 names off the top of my head back at you. I can throw Jack Rodwell back at you. I'm still waiting to be convinced that Barkley's fulfilled his potential, Jack Wilshere, and Josh McEachran. Let's go on from there, you know what I mean? Manage the expectations on these youngsters, let them develop in their own time, let their clubs and the international setup develop them as players. So many of them get washed away for one reason or another, and I'm not sure what that reason is. It's a multitude of things: too much money, you take them out of the environment they used to live in, putting them in a 5-bedroom house in the middle of nowhere, don't know how to cook for themselves, and so on and so forth. Let them develop on their own, and let them see and keep being... Let their role models be Vincent Kompany.
Yeah.
Walk in the morning and what does Vincent do today?
Yeah.
What did he do last night? What time was he in bed last night? He's your captain. Ask him the questions. What does he eat? What does he do? Follow him around. Great mentors. Great captain.